This is an open love letter to Drobanac's all. But there are some stories only cousins and relatives would appreciate. Merry Christmas to you all.
Yourself a merry little Christmas, make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. We all will be together if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
It was a hulking leviathan which sat on the shore of Lake Michigan that Cato O'Drobanac or someone else decided to move what was known as a barrel house to this corner of Center Street. There it stood for over 100 years. As you can see now, it exists only in our collective memories. The structure meant the world to two Slovak immigrants. 10 children, over 30 grandchildren, and countless great-grandchildren. A place of strength, hope, and most of all, unconditional love. Standing on stilts for many years, my mother remembered the downstairs clearly. A sandy floor, clapboard siding that fought off unsuccessfully the wicked winds of whiting weather. Her fondest early memories of her father Cato, a boilermaker at Standard Oil, coming down after work, after the children were asleep. He would stoke the coal furnace in a corner, keeping the cold at bay. He would work fixing the shoes of her brothers and sisters, 10 of them who slept peacefully. He was a very stern, very strict, extremely religious man, but he loved his children in his old country way. The ultimate celebration in this house was the Christmas Eve parties that took place there for many years. It was home and hearth for decades of the Odrobinec clan. My fondest childhood memory was that of a Slovak Passover-style meal I knew as the Vilia. You see, back in Lansing, the only house I remember, we created magic of our own. On Christmas Eve, we all dressed up for the ritual meal, celebrated for eons in honor of Jesus. After this meal, the only solemn family sit-down we ever had, I always loved to eat by candlelight, fighting with my mother to keep the lights off. She always won. But I kept on trying. Aunt Tessie's automatic dishwashers, who were Janet, Carol, Joey, and myself, cleared the table and finished the dishes. We would then open our presents. As exciting as this night was to a 6-year-old boy, I could not wait until 9 o'clock, when we would travel that fabled 12 miles from Lansing to Whiting to that El Dorado we know as 1656 Center Street. Approaching that behemoth in green, 2 levels, 2 floors. Inside the house, stampeded hordes of Odrobinec children, relatives of the 1950s, in a glorious Yuletide repast. Imagine, if you will, being greeted by scads of uncles greeting us heartily. Aunties kissing you on the cheeks, the lips, wherever. That 1956 lipstick stained on our tiny little faces. For many of these relatives, the greatest generation emanated the combination of cigarette breath and whiskey, marking a pheromone memory I will never forget. You know where Uncle Archie was. You simply followed the smell of his cigar smoke. In times past, returning GIs, family members playing cards and dice, provided a backdrop for the scores of relatives packed into the upper level of this house. Who cared whether the oxygen content of the air in this room was diminished by cigarettes, cigar, alcohol, and human sweat? The neighbors would stop by and sing carols, sometimes in English, sometimes in Slovak, mostly out of tune, in the music stylings of an accordion, the rock guitar of these Slovaks, these hard-working people of this generation. The ghost of 1942 hung in the air as we watched a pregnant Tess carrying her daughter Carol and Grandma Ludmila Odrobinec on their knees, rolling dice, while their relatives were watching, were still in the air as I entered the room this evening in 1956. Uncle Emil and Aunt Mary were the grand masters of my generation. They would open their home graciously and lovingly so that the Odrobinacs could usher in the birth of Jesus. They were the ultimate choice to host this party after Grandma Ludmila passed on in 1953. We children ran frenetically, playing tag, teasing, crying, doing all that what children do, laughing like the chulagans, Slovak for hooligans, we were. The aunties sat in the kitchen and talked, and talked, and laughed, and talked, and laughed, and talked, and talked. The men sat in the living room, beer in one hand, cigarette in the other. Or they snuck off to grab a snort, a Boilermaker, shot of whiskey and beer. You see, these guys did not drink martinis. They're hard-working men and laborers, sharing their machismo down at the corner bar of the Cafe Roosevelt, right down the alley. Many of the families would break off at 11 o'clock to attend midnight mass, often in Slovak, at IC, Immaculate Conception Church. The church was the bonding agent for this first-generation family. With recent memories of their loving mother, Ludmilla, these 10 siblings protected the treasured family culture. Their faith was crucial to this end.
After church, the woman would break out the feast. Sausage, halupki, chicken, ham, beef, kolach, harushki, salads of all kinds, fruits, nuts, candy. Oh my God, I'm stuffed. We ate heartily this glorious morning of our Lord's Nativity. Nothing said, "Happy birthday, Jesus," more to me than a greasy fried chicken leg in my hands. The Christmas Eve meal was in keeping with the abstinence tradition of the Catholic Church. No meat on Christmas Eve. Come 12 o'clock, Christmas Day, we feasted like royalty. As the party waned, around 2 a.m., these kings and queens of our generation, these aunties and uncles, wrapped their sleepy children in their coats and trundled them off to their waiting frigid cars, saying goodbye and hugging all. The house was silent now. The Christmas tree was the solitary ruler, majestic, with its twinkling lights, holding court amid the open splayed packages and wrapping paper as its subjects. From the outside, this brooding giant, this house of happiness, stood in a late-night stillness as a testament to the dreams of past immigrants, present guests, and future residents on this corner of Center Street and our world. Merry Christmas to you all. Light one candle, light one candle. Light one candle for the Drobenak pilgrims, with thanks their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured, the right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. Light one candle for the wisdom to know the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, don't let the light go out. Light one candle for the Drobenak family who never become their own foe. One candle for those who are suffering a pain they learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, anger not tear us apart. Light one candle to bind us together with peace as it's sung in our hearts. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let that light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, don't let the light go out. What is a memory that's valued so highly that we keep alive in that flame? What's a commitment to those who have died? We've cried out, they've not died in vain. We have come this far, always believing that justice will somehow prevail. This is our burden, this is our promise, and and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years.